A boy's body is found overnight 1 year after his brutal murder by MS-13 gang members. The unidentified teen discovered in a shallow grave on Long Island. Police arresting a suspect in the case, although it's unclear if he's a part of the gang. 5 MS-13 members are in custody, believed to be connected to the boy's murder.
A Mexican man deported 4 times is now behind bars. The judge sentencing convicted criminal Jorge Hernandez to more than 6 years in prison for repeatedly entering the U.S. illegally. Hernandez has a lengthy rap sheet, including aggravated assault, domestic abuse, and also 3 DUIs.
Sanctuary State California just issued a get-out-of-jail-free card to thousands of suspects, becoming the first state to eliminate bail for nonviolent offenders.
But this bill has faced some serious backlash from critics who say releasing potential criminals back onto the streets creates a major safety issue for their communities. Joining us now is the former vice chair of the California Republican Party and attorney, Harmeet Dillon. Thank you for your time this morning. Is this going to work?
I got it. No, and it's being criticized both by the left and the right. So from a public safety point of view, what you're going to be having is people let out as early as 12 hours after being arrested with no real assurances on the part of the state that they'll come back for their court dates. And on the opposite side, the civil rights community is saying that the state is now going to be using an algorithm that has been found to be racially biased, as well as allowing judges vastly expanded discretion on the more serious crimes, so that you could have a lot more people ending up in prison, or in jail rather, waiting for their trial as a result of this, not less. Yeah, the ACLU kind of has some issues with this as well, which I think is surprising. Usually anything California does, the ACLU is usually all on board with. It's an interesting idea, though, because the first thing is the scare tactics are there from a lot of people that are worried about it. But if you're brought in for anything serious or anything violent, you have no shot of getting out before you see a judge, right? And this is problematic because both the United States Constitution and our California Constitution guarantee the right to bail. And so, you know, I think that's why the civil rights groups are really blowing the whistle on this. And in other states where they've tried this, Rob, it's actually been disastrous for public safety. New Mexico and New Jersey have experimented with this, and they're seeing a spike in crime, repeat players, as well as not really any evidence of, you know, alleviating crowding in the prisons as well.
And for people who might not be totally caught up to speed on this, let's give you some details of this new bail law. Starting with suspects will be gauged under a risk assessment system, the details of which have not been released yet. Suspects arrested for nonviolent, as Rob mentioned, misdemeanors will be let go within 12 hours of being booked. Suspects charged with serious or violent felonies won't be eligible. Officials have 24 hours to determine if a suspect is qualified for release. Will take effect in October of 2019. What's your biggest concern?
Well, the one thing is that actually 2019 is the deadline, but a lot of communities are already doing this. San Francisco, where I'm sitting right now, is already doing this. The biggest concern is public safety. Public safety is going to be impacted by the fact that, you know, look, just to give one example, we have 3 million illegal aliens in this state. And to the extent that, you know, folks who are transient or arrested for crimes, what's the assurance on the part of the public that they'll be arrested and, you know, come back to their court dates as opposed to just move on to the next county? That's a huge problem. And, you know, in terms of crowding in the prisons, if you're arrested for a serious crime, which could happen to any of us, even mistakenly, it's unconstitutional to deny the right to bail. And so we're going to be seeing lawsuits here from both sides likely, and the bail community's already put a referendum on the ballot, notice of that starting today, that they're gathering signatures in the next 90 days. So it's quite possible that this law will be stayed pending that being on the ballot. Okay, let's get to another topic there in California. You've got a governor's race coming up, and you've got a candidate in Gavin Newsom who used to run San Francisco, and he wants to give everybody in the state free health care, including illegal immigrants. Let's listen to him.
I'm not naive about it. I did universal health care when I was mayor, fully implemented, regardless of pre-existing condition, ability to pay, and regardless of your immigration status. San Francisco is the only universal health care plan for all undocumented residents in America. I'm very proud of that, and we proved it can be done without bankrupting the city. I'd like to see that we can extend that to the rest of the state.
So, Harmeet, Jerry Brown just got your finances in order in that state. You've actually gotten rid of a lot of the debt. This would be a tremendously expensive plan.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. Gavin Newsom, by the way, no longer lives in San Francisco. He's left a mess behind. We all know what's going on in San Francisco. But, you know, we have universal health care in a way for illegal aliens all over the country. It's called going to the emergency room and getting free care there. So the idea that this is cost-free is ludicrous. What it is going to do, however, is make California even more of a magnet for illegal aliens. And there's simply no math behind Gavin Newsom's proposal as to how he proposes to pay for this. So, you know, yet again, he's a pie-in-the-sky politician here in California, and I don't think that, you know, this is a great campaign tactic, but there's no way that this is ultimately going to be passed into law.
All right. Harmeet Dillon, thank you for joining us.
Pie-in-the-sky politician. That's a good one. I like that, Harmeet. Thank you so much. I haven't heard that. 18 minutes after the hour. All right, slipping sales, how Dick's Sporting Goods gun ban might be backfiring.
And he's had a mountain named in his honor, a plaza, even an expressway. But you'll never guess the honor former President Barack Obama is receiving now.
Welcome back. California's gun law is about to get even stricter. Lawmakers voting to raise the age of buying long guns from 18 to 21. Californians already have to be 21 to buy a handgun. The new bill heads to Governor Jerry Brown's desk, where he is expected to sign it.
The Los Angeles City Council unanimously voting to rename a street after former President Barack Obama. Rodeo Road, not to be mistaken for the famous Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills, will soon be renamed Obama Boulevard. It's near the same spot where he held a rally during his 2008 campaign.
It's a good idea, too, because that confuses everybody in L.A. They think Rodeo Road is Rodeo Drive. And they're like,
oh, is it Rodeo Road? Is that how you say it?
I think it's Rodeo. I mean, I honestly, you might be right. It could be Rodeo Road as well. But who knows? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter anymore.
Dick's Sporting Goods seeing sales slip.
Okay, Tracy Carrasco from our sister network Fox Business here with how their gun ban may be backfiring.
Sorry, Tracy.
Yes, good morning. Dick's Sporting Goods says that they had a tougher than expected last quarter, seeing sales slip by about 4%. They're blaming that decision partly on their own decision, rather, to pull back from the hunting business. That's their quote there. They did ban the sale of so-called assault rifles, also the sale of high-capacity magazines, and barred the sale of any gun to people under the age of 21. So they're saying that they knew this could happen, and they are actually seeing this as a result in their sales. The other issue here was their deal with the brand Under Armour. Under Armour recently switched its focus from these large-scale sports retailers to the mid-level department stores like Kohl's. So they're seeing sales slip there.
Aaron Rodgers, cha-ching. He's like bathing in money right now.
He's having a great week so far. He has just signed a new contract, a 4-year contract extension to become the highest paid NFL player. So the deal is worth $134 million with a maximum earning potential of $180 million. Yes, that's right. So that works out to a yearly average of $33.5 million. So he's guaranteed at least $103 million. Not bad.
Wow.
Jillian's single, Aaron.
I don't think he is.
What?
And if you have $134 million, I am too.
I don't think he is, actually. I don't think he is, actually.
That's a lot of money.
It is a lot.
He's an athlete. We all know how it works. All right, 24 minutes after the hour. I'm going to get in trouble for that one.
Yep.
The 1993 World Trade Center bomber is now suing the U.S. Why? He says his food is not catered to his Islamic beliefs in prison.
Our next guest lost his cousin and father in terrorist attacks. He's setting the convicted jihadi straight. Good Thursday morning to you. President Trump taking CNN to task over the now infamous Trump Tower meeting. The president tweeting, quote, CNN is being torn apart from within based on their being caught in a major lie and refusing to admit the mistake. Sloppy Carl Bernstein, a man who lives in the past and thinks like a degenerate fool, making up story after story, is being laughed at all over the country. Fake news. The network claims the president's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, had information that then candidate Trump knew. Donald Trump Jr. met with a Russian lawyer to get information on Hillary Clinton. Cohen's lawyer later admitted to being the anonymous source for the story and has since backpedaled, but CNN stands by its story.
All right, big story coming out right here. The author of the anti-Trump dossier reportedly has ties to and even worked for Russian oligarch Oleg Deripaska. The Hill also reporting that Christopher Steele set up a meeting between DOJ official Bruce Orr and that Russian oligarch billionaire. Orr's wife worked for Fusion GPS, which helped Christopher Steele create the dossier. The document was later used as justification by the DOJ to conduct surveillance of that ex-Trump campaign advisor. Lindsey Graham opening up about his phone call with President Trump after the senator delivered a very touching tribute to his close friend John McCain.
He called yesterday after my speech, and he couldn't have been nicer. He said, that was very sad. I just want to let you know that you did right by your friend. I said, thank you, Mr. President.
The president called you?
Yes, he did, just right out of the blue.
It was a very sad, very touching moment there. The South Carolina senator holding back tears. He tried to, at least, as he honored McCain on the Senate floor. Graham will speak at McCain's memorial service on Saturday at the Washington National Cathedral and at his burial ceremony on Sunday at the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland.
A police officer rushes to the rescue when a boat capsizes, and the dramatic moments are caught on body camera. Watch this.
Is everybody accounted for? I want to get everybody on the boat. Sir, can you swim? Can you swim? Yes, sir.
The officer pulling three brothers out of the water and into the boat off the coast of Miami Beach. Police think they were stranded in the water for about an hour. No word on why the boat flipped over.
All right, the terrorist convicted in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing is now suing the United States.
He says his religious rights are being violated in prison because his meals aren't catered to his Islamic beliefs, and he's not been given a Muslim prayer leader.
Here now to react to this is a man who lost his father to a terrorist attack in New York back in 1975 and then lost his cousin on 9/11. Joe Connor joins us now. Joe, thank you so much for coming in this morning.
Thanks for having me.
I can imagine after what you've been through that stories like this drive you crazy.
Yeah, this is a religious issue for him. We're not giving him his religious rights. What about the 6 people that were murdered that day and the unborn baby that were murdered that day? What about the 100,000 people that they planned to kill? They brought a bomb in that was 1,200 pounds of nitrates. They expected to knock one tower into the other and kill 100,000 people. That was their goal. Right. Now, the fact that they failed and only killed 6 people, look, my father was killed in a bombing that killed 4. And for the people who get killed, it's no less a tragedy than the ones than there were thousands. So this guy wanted to kill 100,000 or more Americans because of our religions. Jew, Christian, whatever. And now he expects us to cater to the food that he's eating. This enough. We're in a war. Let's fight it like a war.
If you were watching right now, what would you say to him?
I would say tough. You know, you've been treated as fairly as a human being can be treated for what you did. If the tides had turned and there was an American caught by Al Qaeda, he would have been beheaded or have been disemboweled. Look, I was at Guantanamo Bay, and I've seen how well these guys are treated given what they've done.
Yeah.
And he's no different. I mean, he was an enemy combatant in a time when we didn't recognize enemy combatants.
Here's an interesting part of this, as well as the food as an issue. The lawyer says that listening to somebody speak about views contrary to his own violates his rights in prison. This is talking about he wants his own imam in prison. Yeah. But if you are a radical Muslim, that's not a normal Muslim. So is he requesting a radical cleric?
He sounds like a radical
jihadist cleric is what he's asking for in prison.
Muslim to me.
Right. Yeah.
He has to have someone as radical. What does he want? The blind sheik to come back and say what he wants to hear?
Because a regular Muslim cleric is not going to do the job for him, right? Yeah.
So he might as well be on a college campus, right? He wants to hear only what he wants to hear. He wants an echo chamber. He's a snowflake Muslim, I guess, radical. So he should only hear what he wants to hear. It's a disgrace. It's a joke.
How's your family doing? I mean, it's all these years later, and you have situations like this where you're still, unfortunately, drawn to those moments, to those days.
Yeah, we are. Well, last night, as a matter of fact, my wife and I went out for ice cream, and we ran into my cousin Jean, whose brother was killed on 9/11, and we talk about this all the time, and we're doing well. I mean, I wrote a book called Shattered Lives about this to try to get some closure to my dad and to Steve. And, you know, I think as a family, we've done the best we can do. We don't dwell on things. We all have our own lives, and we've done well, but we never forget, and we try to have justice.
And just to let the viewers know, your father killed in a terror attack in 1975. It was a bombing by a group that was looking for Puerto Rican independence from the country.
Right.
And President Obama commuted the sentence, not of one of the bombers in that case, but of a member of that group.
Well, the Clintons offered clemency to the whole group in '99.
Right.
They accepted it. Oscar Lopez refused it. Right. I went to his his parole hearing in 2011. We kept him in. He was a leader of the group. I actually have pictures in my book of him outside Francis that day.
I mean, that leniency must be.
He was there. He was a bomber. And anyone who said, look, if you're a member of the conspiracy, you're responsible for all acts of that conspiracy. Bin Laden didn't fly the planes, yet he was responsible for it. So, look, we have to fight this as a war. We're against terrorists. I wouldn't say terrorism. That's a tactic. But we got to fight it against these terrorists. And those don't unturned. Whether you're an Islamic or a Puerto Rican terrorist, it's the same thing.
Too soft, you think? Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you,
sir, very much.
Here.
Anytime, guys.
All right. Okay, take a look at a stunning photo here. A huge lightning bolt. Wow, look at that, illuminating the morning sky. This at Lake Michigan. A sailor from Wisconsin taking that picture, and it's now going viral.
Senior meteorologist Janice Dean is live with the forecast. That's a pretty incredible photo, Janice.
It was, and it was taken on a cell phone. Incredible. And it's not often you see a lightning bolt on the ocean, on the water. Okay, let's take a look at the temperatures, because a cold front is coming, my friends. Look at that. 57 right now in Minneapolis, 63 in Chicago. It's 81 in New York. Things are going to cool off within the next 24 hours. Here's your heat relief by Friday. I mean, it's not going to be crazy cold, but we will feel certainly a difference here in the Northeast. Here's your forecast today. Watching the potential for showers and thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast, as well as parts of the Southeast and the Plain States, as well as the Ohio Valley and the Northeast as that cold front moves in. And then across the West, we're not getting that moisture, unfortunately, that they need, where firefighters are battling wildfires. This is Hurricane Norman, Category 3 hurricane. Potentially could come close to Hawaii over the next couple of days. And there's Miriam. And I have to tell you, next week, we could potentially see something in the Atlantic. So folks along the East Coast, as well as the Gulf Coast, need to be on alert.
Oddly active in the Pacific, though, isn't it? I don't feel like we see that
No,
many.
this is the time of year. And what happens sometimes is when you see a lot of activity in the Pacific, you don't see a lot in the Atlantic, but that could switch next week.
Right. Okay.
Janice, thank you.
Okay.
It is just about 37 minutes after the hour. Duck, Duck, Goose, now considered inappropriate. A school district's no fun list that's sparking outrage.
My opponent lives in the world of fiction. I live in the world of fact. Can you stop interrupting? Can you stop interrupting?
Can you stop lying?
The primaries. Sparks flying on the debate stage between New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and actress-turned-politician Cynthia Nixon. And Carly Shimkus is here with some of the highlights from a very heated primary debate. That's right. Good morning, Carly. Not the only thing heated in New York last night. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and actress Cynthia Nixon going head-to-head in their first and only primary debate.
Expanded access to driver's licenses to undocumented New Yorkers.
My opponent lives in the world of fiction. I live in the world of fact. Can you stop interrupting? Can you stop interrupting?
Can you stop lying?
Yeah. As soon as you do. New York State is the state that says we will not cooperate with ICE. They're a bunch of thugs.
Oh, man. Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7, Sirius XM 115. Here with the reaction.
Yeah, the big debate in New York last night. Things got heated as the two high-profile candidates went head-to-head on local issues like the subway system and hot-button issues like illegal immigration and single-payer health care. Both candidates pretty much trying to out-liberal each other. Governor Cuomo, he kind of bragged about his feud with the president as well, but ultimately said he himself would not run for president in 2020.
2020. A whole bunch of reaction on social media. Some people saying this thing was a big old mess. Other people thought that it was a productive debate. One Twitter user says New York deserves better than either one of these candidates. And another person suggests play nice in the sandbox, kids. Not happening in the world of the politics that we live in today.
Yeah, you could tell by the look on her face how much disdain she has for Cuomo.
A lot of side-eyeing going on.
Google Maps jumping the gun here on something we all know is going to happen anyway.
Okay, yeah, so there is a discussion going on Capitol Hill right now to rename the Russell Senate building, the Russell Senate office building, after the late, great Senator John McCain. New York Senator Chuck Schumer, he proposed that bill, saying, today I am circulating a letter asking all of our colleagues to join us in a resolution to officially rename the Russell building the McCain building. Well, no decisions, of course, have been made on that front yet, but for a few hours yesterday, Google Maps, in fact, renamed the Russell building McCain Senate office building. A Google spokesperson suggested the change was prompted by user suggestions. I'm sure the McCain family appreciates that.
A very interesting situation in North Carolina, right?
You know, yes. Postal workers really have it rough. They have to battle the elements, barking dogs, but this may be a first. A woman in North Carolina, she revealed why she didn't get her package on time. She posted this slip to Facebook. The reason, bear in driveway. She thought it was so funny. She posted it to social media. Thousands of other people agree. Got to get back in your car and hightail it on out of there when you see a bear.
Oh, I would have been out of there.
Oh, you would have delivered that package? Battled the bear?
No, that's why I couldn't come to work last week. There was a bear on 6th Avenue.
Yeah, that's right. That's worse than my dog ate my homework. Yeah.
Thanks, Carly.
Thanks a lot.
Well, a homeless crisis and needles littering the streets. Now, San Francisco wants safe space for drug addicts to shoot up. Is it a good idea? A recovering drug addict, a doctor, and a law enforcement officer all on deck to weigh in on this topic.
But first, let's check in with Ed Henry and see what's coming up on Fox and Friends.
What up, Ed?
Guys, I'm not seeing Brian and Ainsley yet, but we got a lot of other people coming in, so I'll work with them. We got investigative reporter Sarah Carter, who says
focus.
Bruce Orr's wife, Nellie, is next in line to be grilled by Congress. That will get interesting. Former acting ICE director Tom Homan reacts to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo last night calling ICE a bunch of thugs during that heated debate with Cynthia Nixon you've been talking about. Plus, a new war is brewing between the president and CNN over its refusal to retract a story about that Trump Tower meeting. The former White House press secretary, Ari Fleischer, he's here to weigh in. Michelle Malkin coming in on conservatives, finally fighting back against social media bias, guys. By the way, what's going on with Aaron Rodgers and Jillian?
What? Nothing.
They're dating.
I heard something about this.
People are talking about it here first.
This is fake news.
I'm endlessly jealous, too. I don't know who I'm jealous of, though.